everyone, my name is Megan. Today I have for you my July wrap-up. Normally I would tell you how many books I read, but I actually didn't bother counting this beforehand because I'm also combining this with my Booktube-a-thon results, so there's going to be some books in here that I didn't actually finish reading, but I feel the need to talk about at the end of July, so, you know, we're just going to roll with it. Just roll with it. Also, because the first book I'm going to talk about, I didn't finish reading in July. I read it in June, and it's the only book I read in June that wasn't... And it's the only book I read in June that wasn't specifically related to writing. That was A Clockwork Angel by Cassandra Clare. Technically, I didn't even read this one. It was an audiobook that I listened to. But it does kick off the start of my journey into the Infernal Devices series. Like I have said before, I didn't particularly like the Mortal Instrument series, but I only read the first 3 books, and I decided that I would continue the series if I like the Infernal Devices, because if I like one, not the other, that means I have to move on to the Dark Artifice series to find out if I really want to stay in the Shadowhunter world. That's how that works. So I did like Clockwork Angel, and I am actually listening to A Clockwork Prince right now. I didn't finish that book, but more on that when I get to the Booktube-a-thon section of this. The first book that I finished in August was a short story, and that was The Crown of Ptolemy. This is the 3rd book and a Percy Jackson Kane sibling crossover. Percy Jackson being the Greek demigod from the Percy Jackson Heroes of Olympus, that series, and then the Kane siblings, Carter and Sadie, from the Kane Chronicles, which is the Egyptian trilogy that Rick Riordan wrote. And I just love this, and I wish there was more of Carter and Sadie, and I mean, like everyone else, I just wish there was more of the Percy Jackson universe, because I mean, how could you not love that universe? How can you not love it? The 3rd book I finished was Screenplay, The Foundations of Screenwriting by Sid Field. This was a book that I got back when I took a screenwriting course in college, and I only had read half of it, so I decided to finish reading the book. It was in my June TBR when I was discussing solely the writing books that I was reading, because June was entirely dedicated to reading books about writing. I do know that a lot of people who talk about this book say it is a very formulaic and structured approach to screenwriting, sort of like the 8-sentence structure of essays you have to write in high school. Moony. And I have actually gotten recommendations for different screenwriting books, but I really was only reading this to learn about how to write concisely, because screenwriting is a very concise form of creative writing. The next thing I read was the manga series Soul Eater by Atsushi Okobu. This features the students of the DMWA Academy, which stands for Death Master and Weapon Academy. These are students whose job is to collect dark souls in the world to create death size, which protect the world. And you start off with meeting 3 teams, each with a Meister and a weapon. The series starts with them all getting stuck in remedial courses because they all messed up. Maka and Soul failed the test to make Soul a death scythe. In the very beginning, he has completed all but the final challenge to become a death scythe, and he messes up and he has to start over. You have Blackstar and Tsubaki, who Blackstar just kind of like goes crazy and destroys a bunch of crap and is punished, and Tsubaki's like, well, you know, he's my partner, so I gotta go with him. Then you have Kid, or Death the Kid, who is the son of the Lord Death, or Shinigami, or whatever, all the different ways they refer to him, who was basically the former hero / principal of the school, and he has his partners Liz and Patty, and he gets stuck in remedial classes because he has severe OCD, and it trips him up in battle. And those remedial courses put them on a path to literally dealing with every single villain throughout the course of the story. And another thing I like about Soul Eater is that there's no love interest / love triangle that goes on in this. The characters really are just focused on their time in school and trying to save the world. The next book I read is One of Us is Lying by Karen M. McManus. I did a review on this one, so there'll be a link to it in the description box as well as at the end of the video. But this is one of those books that I enjoyed while I was reading it, but upon reflection, I'm not sure I liked it as much as I did in the initial reading. And that brings me to the first audiobook I read in July. I was trying to decide whether or not I wanted to go on to The Hidden Oracle or Clockwork Prince for my next audiobook. So while I was trying to decide, I listened to Silver by Andrew Motion. And, you know, it's a good thing I did, because if I didn't, I don't think I would have been able to get through this book. I literally listened to it knowing that as soon as it was finished, I could move on to one of the other two stories. This is the sequel to Treasure Island by Robert Stevenson Lewis, and I have to say, I literally only finished this audiobook because it was narrated by David Tennant. There was no other reason. It was so boring. Then I read Scamming Death by S.A. Hunter. This is like the 5th book in her Scary Mary series. Well, I do like her Scary Mary series because I do like ghost stories. I have to say this is suffering from what I call extended series syndrome. That is where a series that has a lot of books in it, more than a trilogy, maybe more than 4, when you start getting into the higher number, they lose focus on what the overall story is. In the Harry Potter books, Harry versus Voldemort is pretty much the underlying theme of every book, regardless of everything else that happens. The underlying thing that happens in this one is she hears ghosts. And there isn't really a conflict in that. In the first book, it was a conflict because some new kids moved in and they got possessed, and she was the only person who could help them. In the second book, there was a continuation to the third book with the villain. In the fourth book, you set up by meeting new people, and in the fifth book, there's no one there. It's literally her having boyfriend issues while dealing with the ghost. And it was okay. I mean, I want a ghost story, not boyfriend drama story. I'm just worried that the series is gonna start acting like the Arlia LaRue series by Kira Saito, which, while I am still reading, I might DNF after this next book because it just starts prolonging something that shouldn't go on. I do feel like the series needs to get an overarching element to it in order for me to continue beyond maybe the next book. The next book I read, I was in Barnes & Noble looking for books, and I literally just picked this book up and read in Barnes & Nobles, and that is Las Lechucitas by Martin Windle. This is translated to The Little Owls. It's basically just a children's book. I took Spanish in high school, and I still practice my Spanish from time to time, and I wanted to see if I could actually read a book, and I just kind of like meandered over to the foreign language section and picked up the first really easy book that I saw and read it to see if I could do it, and I did it, and I was proud of myself. Crooked Kingdom was the second book on my TBR this month. The first one was One of Us is Lying. This is the second book in the Six of Crows duology. Obviously the first one is Six of Crows. I did really like this one. I think I even liked it more than Six of Crows. That's because I realized with this book series that I actually need to read it in as few sittings as possible because the momentum of the story is what carries it. I do have a review going up on both this one and Six of Crows soon, so I'm not going to go too much into this one right now, but I did enjoy it. I love these crows. I gotta say, I love the crows. So, I'm gonna say this right now. I did not do well in the Booktube-a-thon. Everything else is from the Booktube-a-thon. So, day 1 of the Booktube-a-thon, basically, I dipped into 5 of the 7 books that I said I was going to read, which were The Double Life of Incorporate Things, The Hidden Oracle, The Aeronaut's Windlass, The Golden Compass, and The School for Good and Evil, The Last Ever After. I did not touch Antony and Cleopatra because that was going to be my book to read in one day, and I did not touch Clockwork Prince because that was also an audiobook along with The Hidden Oracle. I didn't want 2 audiobooks going at the same time. The first challenge was to pick a book, to read a book with a person on the cover. I was going to finish The Double Life of Incorporate Things, but I still have about 80 pages to go this one, so I didn't technically finish this book. The second challenge was to read a hype book, and I was going to listen to A Clockwork Prince. I got about a third of the way done with it during the Booktube-a-thon, and I did finish Antony and Cleopatra in a single day. This was also supposed to be my read a book outside, and that didn't happen. But it does also count for reading a book with a person on the cover, and I mean, it's Shakespeare, so that should count as a hype book, because I mean, it's Shakespeare. Right? Right? That's how it works, right? The fourth challenge was to read a book with a protagonist who was different than yourself, and for that I read The Hidden Oracle, or the audiobook of it by Rick Riordan and narrated by Robbie Damon. I did finish this one, and this one also had a person on the cover, so I read 2 books with people on the covers. And I mean, it also takes place in the Percy Jackson universe, so I mean, Percy Jackson universe is the hype universe, right? That counts too. I think that counts. The fifth challenge was to read a book outside, which again was supposed to be Antony and Cleopatra, but I did not read that one outside because, you know, weather and other things like sunlight and people. Then the 6th challenge was to read a book you got because of the cover, and again I picked The Aeronaut's Windlass. I only got past the initial reading that I did in the very beginning when I was trying to gauge when I was going to read each book, so I have not gone past like the prologue in this one. Then for the challenge of reading 7 books, I was also going to read Philip Pullman's The Golden Compass, which I did not finish, even though technically that one, along with The Double Life of Incorporate Things, were on my TBR for this month and I should have had them finished. I did not, and then I was also going to read The School for Good and Evil, The Last Ever After, and finish up that series, but I did not finish that either. So overall in the Booktube-a-thon, I finished 2 books, which, you know, I don't think I even did that bad in the first one, but you know, life and things in life. What can you do about it? Alright, so my next video will be my August TBR. May go up the same day as this one, it may go up the next day, I'm not sure, but you know, I'm gonna be wearing this because I'm literally filming it right after this one. And if you liked what you saw in the video today, go ahead and give this video a like. If you want to see more of my content, go ahead and subscribe. And until next time, talk to you later.